this video is a video by Ardetha talking about the one match that got flashlights nerfed. This is pretty infamous. This is something you guys seem to know about, but something I have never heard of, never interacted with from ye olden DBD times. So yeah, I'm interested to learn, but please take a moment. I just posted the link to the video in chat. Please make sure that if you are not already subscribed to Ardetha, please go take a moment to support them right now by subscribing to them. This video is brought to you not by us. This is not a video we've made. This is a video somebody else has made. So the most respectful thing you can do, since this content is made possible by them, is to go subscribe. So make sure if you have not already, you go ahead and do that here in this minute. But yeah, I basically don't know anything about this one, so it's gonna be new information to me. So yeah.
Videos, I've mentioned some of the completely broken items and add-ons survivors used to have back in the day, and while all of them were absolutely wild in their own ways, no others have a story quite like Instablind flashlights do. Just the term Instablind alone can strike fear and distress into the hearts of old school killer players. Meanwhile, old school survivors will feel enough happiness to make you wonder if they're carrying a flashlight in their pocket. So let me tell you about the downfall of Instablinds and the single match that brought on not just a nerf, but the immediate removal of them.
Was it fun to use, or was it fun to use?
Nowadays are nothing too special. Strength-wise, they're often outperformed by the extra gen pressure provided by toolboxes, or, more prominently, the immense safety provided by medkits. Flashlights, of course, do still have a place in the game. Using a flashlight against the killer is probably the most fun thing you can do as a survivor, and it allows players to punish any killers who forget to face a wall when picking up a down survivor. One of the most—
This is the thing I always find so interesting about flashlights is, like, still to this day, killers fear flashlights like they're old flashlights, you know? Like, I wasn't around for Instablinds, but, like, I was around for you know, stronger flashlights back in the, like, day as well. It's like flashlights nowadays, like they're pretty annoying because they have that extra buffer now, so they're kind of easy. But it's like people don't really invest a lot into like counterplaying them. So like either chasing the flashlighter or slugging someone and chasing somebody else, or facing a wall, or like baiting the pickup. It's like people don't really practice a lot of the counterplay to flashlights. And so they end up in this situation where they're just kind of like, they feel like flashlights are this big boogeyman, when like realistically, like there's so much you can do about them. And I think it's one of those things that I just, even as like a very entitled killer man back in the day, I never found myself like detesting flashlights and like being like, oh my god, they're gonna bully me and I feel terrible, you know? Like, for example, CJ techs, you know, where people like, you know, force the pickup, slide across, slide back, and go for the flashlight save. I don't think I've ever been hit by those outside of my first like 100 or 200 hours. Like legitimately, I don't think I've been hit by that outside of my first 200 hours, because like I see the survivor at my feet and I see the guy on the other side of the pallet with the flashlight, so I just back up as they vault and then smack them. You know, like it's just like you could do like very little things, very little things, and just like completely shut down a flashlight save. And I just never gotten the big deal behind it. I've seen killers accuse survivors of using Instablind add-ons. Like, you have no idea. They don't even exist anymore. See, that's what I'm interested in looking at with like this video, is to see how bad it used to be, because that's something I wasn't around for. Yeah, and obviously, yeah, like Adrian says, like they're in a bad position. They're not on a gen. Like, I don't know. I've never gotten like the stigma behind flashlights being like something that killers hate, besides just kind of like irritation factor, you know?
Interesting things about flashlights is the added layer of depth they bring to the game,
the videos
allowing
with
for
Instablinds,
extra
yeah, I remember us watching
interactions with
those.
certain enemy abilities, like destroying the hag's traps, stopping the nurse from blinking, or stunning the wraith out of his power. While it kind of sucks that flashlights aren't all too prominent compared to the more linear toolboxes and medkits, they have absolutely had their time to shine, pun intended. While flashlights have been present in DBD from the very beginning, it wasn't until 3 months after the game's release on the 23rd of September 2016 in patch 1.1.2, where 2 brand new items were added: the sport flashlight, the green one, and the utility flashlight, the purple one, which is where the story of Instablinds begin. While most people know that flashlight add-ons have had numerous changes over the years, you may not realize that the actual flashlights themselves had different attributes to the ones they have today. For instance, let's take a look at the purple flashlight. Its current stats are 12 seconds of use, 30% brighter beam, 15% longer blind duration, and 20% less accuracy, which is how much the flashlight bobs up and down when moving. But its old stats were 12 seconds of use,
knew that's what the accuracy
30%
affected.
brighter beam, 15% longer blind duration, 20% less accuracy, and 15% faster blind speed, which of course meant that just by bringing a purple flashlight by itself, survivors would be able to blind killers slightly faster than with the other two flashlights.
Interesting.
Surprisingly, alone, this didn't have a huge effect on balance and instead brought a unique problem for survivors. The timing for flashlight saves would be different depending on which flashlight they used.
Interesting.
What would have been perfect timing for a yellow flashlight would actually be slightly too early when using a purple one.
But that's kind of cool. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's the kind of stuff that I like. This stuff, like this, those little, like, just little microisms of like, you need to do it slightly faster with this thing compared to this thing. Like, that's like the fun stuff that makes this game fun. Like, I don't get to say that very often because the meta is usually pretty miserable. But like that, it's tiny stuff like that that you like learn as you keep playing the game, or those little things you have to know to play better. That I just find super interesting about like any game it's in. I like stuff like this where it's like, well, you're using this flashlight, so the timing is slightly different. You got to know that. You got to know that to be able to hit that save. Like I think stuff like that's really. It's like the modern day example would be like, you know, how flashbangs you have to throw earlier than normal flashlight saves, right? Flashbangs you have to throw more when they're like actually grabbing and picking them up off the ground, whereas flashlight saves is like the shoulder saddle. So like I like little like having to know that and having the little differentiation about it. Like I love little stuff like that. So you know I'm always sad when games kind of like streamline stuff like this because I feel like that specifically rewards people who are interested in the game and want to learn the game and get better at the game to know those little microcosmic differences. You know. Was still like old Frankies. I made a video about how I feel about Franklins, and everybody disagreed with me. So
save timing with yellow or green flashlights,
not going back to that.
They decided to treat themselves and bring in a purple beamer for a change. Their hard work would be thrown out the window as the timing would be all wrong. And that was a genuine problem that some players had. Some players played it safe and committed to only yellow and green flashlights in order to stay consistent with the more readily available items, while others would forgo anything less than the best.
I find
These
something like
were
that
typically the people who played more and had a large amount of purple flashlights stocked up. As with
Which is
most
hard to do.
of the broken
Even with
items
the new,
from the early
update.
days of DBD, the crazy stuff came from the add-ons. While
yeah,
that
like
15%
for example, like let's take a look real quick. I like on Jeff, who's my main. That's prestige like 55. How many flashlights do I have him? I can bet you I don't have a whole lot of purple beamers on him. I only have 27. In the time that I have been prestiging him, and he's prestige 55, I only have 27. Like I got 78 of green, I have 230 of the yellow, but I only have 27 of the purple flashlight. And this is back when, you know, the items cost more and you got less blood points. Like, that's crazy that people were bringing purple flashlights like all the time. Because that's expensive. That's expensive. Even post Blood Web update, and I'm prestiging this character up to 55, I only have 27. So that was like that's way harder than you think. That's way harder to have purple flashlights all the time.
Faster blind speed from the purple flashlight wasn't huge by itself. When combined with some of the pre-nerf add-ons, things could be pushed to the extreme. While many add-ons sped up blinding speed, the biggest offenders were Oddbulb and Intense Halogen.
I remember people talking about Oddball being the most BS item in the game back in the day, and I just like had no idea what they were talking about. Like I had no clue. Like they were just like, what? What do you mean Oddball was OP? And it's like, I had no clue. I know what was going on.
Current versions to their old versions. Current Oddbulb. 50% brighter beam, 25% longer blind duration, 15% faster battery depletion. Old Oddbulb. 50% brighter beam, 25% longer blind duration, 24% faster battery depletion, and 25% faster blind speed.
Wow.
Current Intense Halogen. 40% brighter beam, 20% longer blind duration. old intense halogen, 40% brighter beam, 20% longer blind duration, and 20% faster blind
You
speed.
could
While
stack
the
'em.
add-ons remain mostly similar, the faster blind speeds of the best add-ons alongside the base stats from a purple flashlight allowed for an almighty 60% faster blinding speed.
That's a little
Considering that
strong.
the default time it takes to blind a killer is 1 second,
That's a little
this
strong.
setup would blind the killer in less than half a second, thus starting the reign of terror that was instablinds. Another important thing to mention is that back then, killers picked up survivors off the floor much slower. And I don't mean that old school players left survivors slugged for longer, I mean the actual pickup animation itself was like twice as long as it is now, which meant that anyone looking to perform a flashlight save had plenty of time to get into position, which meant
And hooking people was like that too. Hooking people, you used to like not only did like now like hooking people in Debbie Delight, you just walk up and you just chuck them on, and it's like 1 second and then they're on. But like in old DBD, you had to like walk up, and then the killer would kind of like fasten them on their shoulders before they threw them up onto the hook. They would be like they would like aim, you know, it's really funny looking, and then they would throw it up. And you used to be able to blind that little like shoulder fasten thing before they threw them up. They used to be able to blind that too. It was like just stuff like that I hear that I'm like, wow, old DBD sounded something for sure.
Was timing the blind correctly. Too early and the blind wouldn't count. Too late and the killer could look away and avoid it. Well, it was the hard part until you add instablinds into the picture. What used to require some serious timing could now be achieved by quickly flicking on the beamer for a split second at the end of the pickup animation. Or just flicking it on for a split second in general really, pickup animation or not. The killer would need to have an extremely high sensitivity and a very fast reaction speed to look away in time. Of course, even the instablind could be
you think photosensitivity for like clicking and stuff was like bad now? Like I like Uzi mentioned, like I've watched videos of people doing the instablind stuff, and it's like, and the blind screen used to be worse too. The blind screen used to be just like a white. It's like literally like you were blinded. Like it was just like a white flashbang, not the perk, but like literally like a white flashbang, like COD or something. It was actually visually disorienting to have that white screen in your face, and to have that be happening constantly in half a second, just over and over and over again. That I can't imagine how that would be for photosensitive people. I cannot imagine how that would be for photosensitive people. That sounds disgusting. That sounds absolutely disgusting.
Entirely by planting your face into a wall when picking up a survivor, but survivors knew this fact too. In order to prevent the prevention, many survivors would intentionally run into an open area if they knew they were going down. That way, if a teammate has an instablind, the killer is pretty much out of luck. And the torment didn't stop there. Due to how quick instablinds were, alongside the fact that the instablind add-ons all increased the blind duration too, they could, and absolutely would, be used mid-chase to confuse, disorient, and most importantly,
I love this
annoy the
Meyer
killer.
spinning
As
in the
of
background.
course, this was the era of bully squads, and if you've watched my other videos, then you've heard mentions of those too. And instablinds were just one of many tools these squads would use to troll, harass, and annoy killer players. I'll do a full video covering
So was
bully
DBD
squads as a
better,
whole and
or was
their
DBD just
entire
better for
arsenal
Survivor?
soon, so remember
Back in
to
the day.
subscribe if you want to see that.
my
Words
question.
cannot fathom the amount of torment this caused. Countless hard-earned hooks prevented, teammates popping out from the shadows to insta-blind the killer while he's chasing somebody else, insta-blinds at every pallet, insta-blinds after each of the 4 perma-decisive strikes, and enough clicky spam to haunt the killer's entire bloodline for generations to come.
Old DBD is better. Old DBD was better though. Oh, DBD was better. Okay.
But it couldn't have been
Sure,
that
bud.
bad,
Sure,
right?
Jed.
If they were using the insta-blind combo, that means they weren't using batteries, and build to last wasn't around back then, so surely the flashlights would run out pretty quickly. While yes, they certainly ran out faster than a double battery build, the insta-blind combo somewhat served as a battery preserver in itself, as you'd spend less juice with each blind,
Yeah, that's
since
true.
you didn't have to keep it shining as long.
That's 100%
and
true.
paired with Streetwise, you'd be surprised
Ooh,
at how persistent those little
yeah.
lightsabers could be.
Sabers.
Things needed to change. Many killer players begged and pleaded with behavior to tone down insta-blind combos. There were forum posts, Steam threads, YouTube videos, questions directly to the devs in the dev stream Twitch chat, and yet, for the longest time, nothing. Back then, the devs seemed to be much less understanding of the issues in their game and the type of frustration it would bring their players. It was as if that was the state the game would stay in, and that was that. Well, perhaps, until the 16th of November 2017, where the official Twitch Korea channel streamed content from the Korean G-Star event, and at 12:30 PM they had a panel with Matthew Cote, the game director for DBD, and he had the opportunity to talk about the game, and there was actually some great information and banter shared. Near the start, one of the hosts said that as the skill levels of players increase, the power of survivors increases too, and survivors end up being more advantageous compared to killer, and asks what Matthew thinks.
Yeah, so at the when you're at the low levels, killers have a bit of an advantage, and when you get to the high levels, the survivors have a bit of an advantage, but it's a very small margin.
It was not a small margin.
I mean, something that
it was not a small margin. It was not a small margin. This is a gross underselling of how much Old Survivor used to be really good. Really good. That's not even just talking about like meta, like old Dead Hard, old DS, like old Unbreakable DS combo. Like that's a gross underselling. We're not even talking about like the perks in the meta. Like Survivor as a role was so much stronger than Killer. Like a crazily so. Like outside of like Nurse, like that is a gross underselling.
Looking at and constantly trying to calibrate.
And of course, it wouldn't be a DBD discussion if the entire room didn't erupt into chaos the moment the nurse was mentioned.
Oh, the nurse.
The nurse. Okay, nurse.
They're like coming after him.
And things were going really well until the host challenged him to play as Killer, saying,
they're talking about, like, you know, how good of a player that you would be or how bad you would be, but him, Luxam, was saying that if you were a very skillful high tier player, the balance would be a little better. That's what he said.
He said, bro, if you didn't suck, your game balance would be great. That's hilarious. Oh, he said, hey, you're just bad at the game. That's why your balance decisions are terrible. Because you're ass. Oh my god, that's hilarious. Oh, that's so funny.
If you don't mind, would you like playing, a game as a killer right now?
Sure, I can do that.
And with that, Matthew switched to his favorite killer, who at the time was the Hag, and queued up into a public match against the general Korean player base. And in under 45 seconds of the match starting, the survivors had already lost interest in the generators and had a new plaything in mind, the killer. After spamming alerts to get the killer's attention, they immediately took to spamming flashlight clicks and started the chase. When the first survivor was within lunge range, a miss. After the second miss, the onslaught of insta-blind spam had begun
look at how
as he
bad that
teleported
is.
to a trap set
I'm
off
not gonna
by a
pause it on
different
that.
survivor.
Look at how bad that is. Look at that. Like, that's like literally you're seeing heaven's lights up there. You're like, ah, like you're ascending. Imagine that happening every half second. Man, that's a photosensitivity nightmare. Oh my god. I'm glad that's out.
After that, Matthew had a new plan, securing the area and setting up traps. After clearing out a few pallets, he turned his attention to kicking the gen. One slight issue. The gen was bugged, leaving the game director unable to defend the objective.
Imagine you're at this conference to try and advertise your game. And, get more people interested in your foreign audience to playing the video game. And you quite literally are having trouble winning your own game demonstration because of a bug. That's really bad. That's gotta be embarrassing. That's gotta be so embarrassing. So embarrassing. And that bug's still in the game. There are gens that still spawn with one side that you just can't kick for whatever reason. Like,
2 gens in, and the second hag trap of the match was finally activated. A clean hit, followed by teabagging, and not one.
that's so bad. That's so bad.
Not 2.
Oh.
Not 3.
You can tell you can tell he's the one who said it. You can tell he's the one who said it because he's getting so excited whenever anything bad happens to him. He's like flipping out up here. He's like, woo! This is the best years of his life right here.
But 4 insta-blinds. After going on the defense and kicking a gen, a new chase began. And the victim's teammate emerged from the shadows to insta-blind the hag again. Matthew now visibly frustrated, shaking his head as the 3rd gen pops. Heading over to the shack now and placing a trap at the door before deciding to drop chase in search of a weaker loop. Before changing his mind as the 3rd trap of the match is activated. Back in the shack as the 4th gen pops. Just as he's within lunge range, a pallet stun, followed by an insta-blind. Nearby, he finds a Dwight and manages to secure his 2nd hit of the match.
I want to say this. It's fine that he's not good at his own game. Because his whole thing is like, you know, making the game. That's fine. Right? That's okay. But that's why we have things like Fog Whisperers, who it's their job to play the game, that you use for reference for the game's general health if you don't understand it. That's what but they don't really utilize them that well.
Moments later,
Power Vacuums, it was 2017?
that hit is instantly healed by adrenaline as the 5th and final gen pops. As the match draws to a close, the survivors have a few more things in store for the hag. An insta-blind, a 2nd, and finally a 3rd. Before Matthew sees an object of obsession proc which leads him to the rest of the team at the exit gate where they teabag him relentlessly.
Oh, I would just leave. I would just like.
And a nod for good luck.
If this happened to me, like I would just retire. I just would. I would just retire. I would. I just could not show my face in my own company ever again. Like that would be so embarrassing. Like I already have stage fright as it is. I know it doesn't seem like it because I stream all the time, but like having that happen, I don't know how I can exist after that. I would feel so bad. Yeah, Daddy, I would feel so bad.
A grand total of 0 hooks, 0 downs, 2 injuries.
0 hooks and 0 downs. Zero hooks and 0 downs. He didn't get anything. Not even yeah, you're right. Not even getting a down. Oh man.
And 3 successful traps, with the match lasting 5 minutes and 53 seconds. After witnessing the absolute beating that just occurred, the hosts asked Matthew the obvious question.
How do you feel? Not so good.
Not so good. Yeah.
Now you felt how the killers feel when a team of 3, a team of 4 go up against you with flashlights and they just play around with you. So why not upgrade the killers a little bit? If you felt what
They did. It just took them to 2022, but they did. They actually did adjust the base kit in 2022, 6.1. Just took them 5 years. Just took them 5 years, but they did.
The pain was as being alone in the woods as a killer by yourself.
In the
In
woods.
this case, yes, the flashlights are extremely powerful, and it's very frustrating when you get an organized group playing against you like this. These are tweaks that are gonna happen.
And 1 month later, on the 14th of December 2017, in patch 1.8.3, those tweaks did in fact happen. Nerf. The faster blinding stat has been removed from the purple flashlight. Nerf. The faster blinding stat has been removed from every single add-on that had it. If you've seen my previous videos, you'll know that in the past, changes like this typically took between 1 to 2 entire years before they went through, and even then they were typically adjustments, not the outright removal of something. And of course, the community immediately connected the dots and determined that after enduring the torment of instablinds one single time, Matthew immediately went back to behavior and erased instablinds from existence. Hence,
I would be so mad if I was like somebody who had been like trying for so long to get like the insta-blind thing removed, and like getting told by like devs on the forums, getting told by other people that flashlight, insta-blinds aren't bad, and then suddenly just like the game director just like blows chunks in a single match of DBD and it gets fixed right away. I'd be so mad. I'd be so tilted by that. Like, you could have fixed this house much sooner, and you just didn't. It literally could have been this quick, and you just didn't do it. Like, oh my god, I'd be mauling.
It's the unusually fast change speed and the unusually heavy-handed approach used. While behavior's official stance is that the removal of instablinds was already in the pipeline before this event ever happened, and Matthew isn't even a part of the balancing team, the wider DBD community deemed it as far too suspicious to be a coincidence.
Yeah, we're not
jokingly
idiots.
Or seriously. Thank you so much for sticking to the end. If you have any other things you'd like me to discuss in a similar style to this video, be sure to let me know.
Yeah, like, yeah, sure, but it was already in the pipeline. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. No, it was not in the pipeline. It was not in the pipeline. Maybe it was something they had discussed once or twice, but it was not going to come through at, like, the same velocity that it did. Like, like, I said this earlier. It's one of those things, like, Almo's been caught saying some pretty weird stuff before, and similar of, like, back during Forever Freddy, when Forever Freddy was a thing, he played Freddy all the time, and he's infamous for saying, like, oh, well, apparently Freddy's OP. We don't know how he's OP, but the community says he's OP, so he must be OP. Like, he was being condescending about it. And it's like, it's okay for the people that make the game not to be good at the game, but if you're, that's why you ask. And that's what ideally the Fog Whisperer program is supposed to be, is like, these are the people we ask for, because those people can and do play the game for a living. They do play all the time. So, you don't have to be, down on the front lines while also making the game. You have consultants. But they don't really utilize them very well either. So it's just kind of like, or even when, like, they do utilize them, like Fog Whisperers will put up like their opinion about something, or try to like persuade the devs for a change. They're not as receptive. So it's just it just leads to these really weird scenarios where like there's just like this complete disconnect with what's going on. And honestly, it's like mostly the people they upset are middling to high end hour players, so like they already have your money. So while that's really, really bad for player retention, as we've seen through the stats, as long as they can keep sucking in like new people, it's like that's kind of like their main objective, right? But I do think it's funny that like whenever they have issues with something specific, they can just theoretically just push it out like immediately if they wanted to, and it kind of just makes you almost bitter, right? Makes you almost bitter, right? Because we've had to deal with like Eruption COB being as strong as it is since last year. Same thing for like Like Peru's been in the game forever, and Peru has been speeding through gens for its entire existence. That's never been changed or adjusted. It's just like little stuff like that. Like, I don't know. Like I said, it's kind of, it makes you feel better. Like if theoretically, if one of the devs decided to actually start getting into this game and playing it all the time, and being super invested and being good at it and sinking a lot of hours into it, then all this stuff could theoretically just change like overnight. Like they theoretically, if they had to run into half the stuff that like a lot of us that play the game daily do, like they could just overnight just go done. The patch came out in the summer. Yeah, it was with the 6th anniversary. Right. What is it? 6th anniversary? Yeah, 6th anniversary, yeah. Yeah, overnight, this could just go away if just somebody higher up got angry about it. Like, if somebody at the higher ups got mad about it, like, all these issues would just go away. But they're, like, they're disconnected, so it doesn't, so. Yeah, it was really funny, though. It was really, really funny to see that happen. But... yeah, it does kind of cast a kind of a deeper shadow over like how balancing works behind the scenes with them, and kind of like reinforces that there's kind of a disconnect. Should have had the devs play versus Hens Hostage Knight, literally, like legitimately. I feel like if they played against that like the Hens Hostage Knight build, they would remove that in an instant. Like they really would. If they played against that, they would remove that in an instant. They would understand that that's stupid. But as long as, you know, they don't, and they don't listen to their constituents and consultants that are telling them that, it's like, stay there. Hey, Tiffany. It's been a while, friend. How are you? Hopefully your Tuesday is well, too, bud. I appreciate you. Yeah. Like I said, it just feels bitter. Because, like, if theoretically they could change things quickly if they wanted to, they just don't, because they just personally don't have any investment in it. But once they do have personal investment, they can theoretically just change whatever they want really quickly. So, yeah, that sucks.